A round of applause for her as she makes her way to the front seat. We have Arnold Mwangi, Investment Manager, DOB. Also have Millie Minor, Project Imenza Anya. A round of applause for her as she... Yeah, without taking much of... And that would be Sikili.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. What happens after life? It's a good question, right? Well, I might not be able to answer this question specifically, but what I can tell you, it's what happens after the life of our electronic devices. And this is not good, believe me. Each year, millions of devices are simply discarded in West Africa. Despite this massive issue, we don't trust refurbished electronics. Will my battery work more than 1 hour without charging? Will I still find the guy 3 months from now who sold me a phone at the black market 2 weeks ago? Well, we don't have reliable actor, and this is exactly what has to change. Locally and internationally, from grade A to E. We then refurbish them if necessary, and offer a full-time support to our customer. And then we distribute. But not only it is simple, it is also a massive opportunity. You all need to realize now that Africa is the world's fastest growing market for smartphones, but not only for new smartphones, as well for refurbished ones. It's said to be a $12.4 billion opportunity by 2050. This is huge. To tackle a massive opportunity, obviously, we need a dream team. That's where Kadia and I come into place. Kadia and I, Magellan, met 1 year ago. We started talking. It was business love at first sight. We were refurbishing the world, seeing Sikili to the top, to the moon, opportunity in the industry. And I personally came from the startup scale-up sector with Jumia and... But despite an opportunity and a dream team, we also need the right timing, right? Well, you will tell me, future will tell. I don't believe that. We have patterns worldwide to prove that. It started with the car industry, which is, by the way, bigger today. The refurbished car industry is bigger than the new car industry. And then electronic devices came into place. This is why we believe that with Sikili, we are the next big things. We have the first mover advantage in an untapped market that has proven successful worldwide. This is huge. That's why we launched very rapidly with Kadia. We wanted to test. At the beginning, it was hard. We got several customer feed, 100 phones. Today, we are approximately at 200, and we are aiming to be at 400 phones sold by the end of the year. But obviously, we scaled fast. It's a no-brainer value proposition for our customer. Imagine that. You are buying grade A, which is the equivalent of a new phone, at the price of a second-hand. So obviously, everyone was in. And the best proof is that 1 out of 3 people bought another phone with us within 2 months. How do we do? Obviously, I cannot tell you all our secret sauce, right? But I can tell you that we have 4 pillars. First one is our tech. You want to sell us your phone today. I can tell you how much I can buy it, and I will instantaneously know, do I have the spare part to fix it? And where should I sell it in order to ensure the best margin for us? It helps us to make fast and accurate decisions in a dynamic environment. Secondly, sourcing. You are familiar with the notion of stock exchange. Well, we have a stock exchange of used phones. So we are everywhere in order to negotiate the best deal for our companies and before diversifying our products to computer and Apple Watch, for example. Thirdly, I mentioned that earlier, people have not waited for us to buy a phone, right? Phones today you can realize that if you are making 300 euro a month, it's hard to buy a 300 euro phone, right, at once. This is why we are partnering with assets financing offer, and we have as well developed our own assets financing offer, blocking phones from abroad. Finally, we have our in-house refurbishment expertise, warranty I was mentioning. Sadly, to the investor in the room, we are not raising right now, But I think somebody yesterday said we are looking for mission-aligned partnership, and I really love that. It's exactly why we are here, because it's not a challenge we can solve alone, right?
Thank you so much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Really exciting business. So I do have two questions. One is in terms of the sourcing.
Yeah.
So if you could explain to us a bit more how you do that,
Yeah.
and also, what do the numbers look like in terms of the volumes that you've been able to do so far?
Yeah. So in terms of sourcing, obviously it's a huge challenge for us. I was mentioning that it's like a so you can either buy already refurbished products, but it's not really in bulks, products that we can refurbish. And this is in case we don't have enough phones locally. So we have the two options. We import internationally grade A phones that are already refurbished for very specific needs. If you want, like, I don't know, an iPhone green that we don't have in stock, we will order this fast. But else, we also buy back locally. In terms of number, buyback, we are at 30% of our phones that are bought locally with buyback, and this is with B2C. So it's, for example, you come, you want to buy a new phone, we will buy back your old phones. But now we are negotiating with corporate them.
Thank you. So you for iPhone model?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So at the beginning, we thought we needed to do everything, but the reality is the residual value is higher on iPhones, because you know that, I don't know for the one who are using iPhones, but a lot of counterfeit, but we don't see the opportunity. Now we are also doing Samsung Premium, which are very relevant, but we won't go to Huawei and so on. I was saying diversifying our products, so it's really products. It's like MacBook, computer. It's a new expertise though, the reason why.
Okay, thank you so much, Sekili.
Thank you very much.
Seat. So we have 5 minutes pitch and 2 minutes for the questions from the to pitch is Smartfield. A round of applause for them.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Cool. Hi, my name is Navoa Das. I'm CEO of Smartful. And Smartful is quite an audacious market that we're trying to achieve, right? It's an audacious idea, and if we get it right, it will really change the face of retail across Africa, working on these kind of concepts. So you're seeing quite a groundswell in it. And the way we developed it actually came to us as a project. So my prior experience is as a product designer. We do work for Google and Visa and Microsoft, lots of big brands. And we were approached by a company called Smollen, which has about 80,000 people globally, doing Unilever and P&G and Tiger brands, lots of big global food and FMCG companies sell more effectively into informal markets. And the reason why informal markets are so important is actually that is the bulk of where the sales happen for basic necessities. They don't know who they are, they don't know how much they're buying, they don't know how much they're selling, at what prices. It's completely inordinately expensive for consumers. Consumers pay up to 5 times as much for a small amount of like rice in kind of grams, if you're buying 100 or 250 gram packet of rice versus buying it in 10 kilos. And that's really a big issue. So the solution we came up with is to consumers. The idea is very simple. We have a smart dispenser. It is IoT connected. It has a smart logistics system in the cloud. You bring a reusable container, like 20 kilograms of rice. You slide it into the ATM. Consumer comes in, they say, I want 100 shillings or 200 shillings of product. They can fill it into their own container or a paper bag, prints out a receipt, they pay at the till. That's simple, right? And every time you do that, you avoid a plastic packet. And so the opportunity is really, from a consumer point of view, is if we can sell in bulk effectively, but in small quantities, but maintain the important parts of packaging, because packaging is critical from a hygiene, regulatory reasons for retailers and for the manufacturers, because the truth is the logistics and packaging are actually the real reason why small quantities are so expensive. But most importantly, if we can do that, we can get rid of all these sachets and small packets. And what people don't realize is, even though, and the truth is, most of the things don't weigh very much that need to be recycled. So 80% of the pollution and plastic waste we never even think of because it's too light and too flimsy and too dirty to ever be considered for recycling. and this gets rid of that. To give you guys Destiny Best, and they do $12,000 a month in retail sales of oil through their oil ATM machines. That means half of all their oil is sold like that every month. This isn't an idea that consumers are trying to get an idea of. It's something that exists and being sold today. Unfortunately, this is what their oil ATM machine looks like. It wouldn't pass any health or regulatory checks anywhere in the world. It's kind of a bit disastrous. They don't have a date or anything. Shampoo in Bangladesh for Unilever. We're doing washing powder here, also for Unilever. And you can see the machines are really small and simple. That fits on a counter. These are also countertop machines. Our model is slightly different as well. Sorry, so firstly, it's a very large market. Just what you have to imagine is not that you're selling a single ATM device, you're going to carry on increasing from there. The TAM is about 200 million, the SAM is about 20 million. It is a significant market. Our business model is quite different. We charge the brands for branding on the dispensers, which they pay us a monthly fee for. And then even if you can see today, we kind of have great month-on-month growth. This is in South Africa, in a spaza shop, from 12 kilos in June, 20 kilos almost in July, 400 Rand in revenue, 540 year on year. So it's a massive market, high margin, and lots of opportunity for growth. So what you see in the retail environment is we're able to meet that small packets of food requirement and really achieve that effectively, creating thousands of jobs or hundreds of jobs because we keep that all locally inside the community to pack and manage these machines. Let me end there because I think I've run out of time and I don't want to lose your 2 minutes there. So thank you.
Thanks for that pitch. Maybe
Cool.
just a question on where you see most of the growth coming from. Is it by monetizing the dispenser and selling it to others? Or do you see yourself aggregating commodities and getting most of your revenue from there? So what are the margins?
Okay, that's a great question. So I'll start at the beginning. Most of the money is actually made in the branding fees, to be honest, because that's a stat we do, which are small scale, get $100 a month per dispenser. So it's small scale given to not purchasing from the dispensers, you don't have the brand I want. So for example, Maize Meal in South Africa, there's Ace and there's Millie King and there's like 4 or 5 key competitors. Having more of them doesn't actually reduce your market share. It actually increases your market share if you're tapping into customers who prefer different components. And then our margin varies. There's about a 60% margin, and we give the customer back about a third. So we try to be 15% cheaper than on shelf in packaging. We find that's required for elasticity. If you get to 20, you really get a lot of volume, but then there's not much margin. The retailer normally needs 15 to 20%, and we get to keep the rest in the gross margin. To local distribution companies, it will make more sense for them, and we will maintain the branding fees. And the way the machines get to produce. So we're targeting a $200 per machine. So if you look at out over like 18 months, you're looking at about $12 to $15 a month in costs for the machines. And then that dissipates after 2 years, or 18 months. So that was like answering 5 questions in one.
Okay, thank you so much, Smartfield.
Cool. Thank you.
A round of applause for him. We're moving on to our third. A round of applause for them as they make.
Driven to come here. But then imagine if you had an injured leg, or imagine if you were on a wheelchair. How easy would it have been to actually then get to such a venue? When I was 6 years old, my dad got into an accident and he became a wheelchair user. And that's not the problem. The biggest problem is that he was dismissed from work because he couldn't get a transport solution to move from home to work. I bring you Ace Mobility. Ace Mobility is Africa's first inclusive transport service provider. And the biggest problem we see is that people with reduced mobilities do not have a transport solution that meets their needs. If someone wants to use public transport, for example, in Kenya, they have to wait up to 3 hours just to get a driver who's willing to wait for them to board. If someone is looking even to go to a hospital appointment, now doing is we are providing inclusive transport where we have drivers who are trained to be caregivers. And then been adapted or retrofitted with ramps and swivel seat just so that they are then able to transport people, even people who are seated on their wheelchairs. 450,000 USD. Last year alone, we made 130,000 USD. We were even able to make a profit of around 13,000 US, 80 vehicles. We make our margins just from the app itself, where we are able to get up to 18% for rides that are booked through our Ace Mobility app. We're able to make up to 25 to 30. We're still not being served with the public transport solutions that are there. Even in the travel and tourism space, there is no solution that is get to stay more. I mean, there's quite a huge market in this particular space. My co-founder is actually blind. His name is Julius Mura. He's the world's first blind car reviewer. We have Karo Mwikali, who's our head of finance. Are given the opportunity to work or even to access education, they will then become a very huge support into the economy instead of just looking at them as just, as charity cases. Yeah, thank you. So we are raising 500,000 to move from a scheduled ride platform to an on-demand platform. Thank you.
Most of the pitches I see, they don't actually start with the client or the end consumer and the problem in such detail. So thank you so much. What is it that you need to scale in addition to the funding? What else are you looking for?
So we are looking for distribution partnership. And one distributor we've talked to, rather quite a number, they are the ride-hailing apps. But then it was quite expensive because we were charging around $30 or $40 per ride. But when we get to a distribution partner like Bolt and Uber, particular ride, giving more access to the people who actually need the service, because we'll be able to cover the cost of these particular vehicles that we have.
And then a follow-up question is, have you raised to date? And
yes.
Can you tell a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we raised $100,000 from Jasir. The $100,000 was on SAFE.
Great. Well, thank you. Wishing you all the best. Well done.
Oh. And sorry, in case maybe there's any manufacturer, any vehicle manufacturer, we'll be looking to partner to then make accessible vehicles. And even maybe we then moved to hybrid vehicles, and we've realized it's actually more cost effective on our end. And we are now also looking to maybe have a full EV fleet by 2030.
Okay, another round of applause for him. That was such a powerful presentation. Of applause for them as they make their way to the stage.
Let's talk about in that water is unavailable, or is it that the water resources are poorly managed? And I think the latter carries more weight. So this is where Ubuntu Water Hub Africa comes in. So we have a lot of water points in Africa that are not working because the revenue collection methods are very manual, and whoever is employed there, they steal that money that should belong to the community or the entrepreneur. And what happens later is that the water point stops functioning because something small happened and the kiosks in Africa are closed down. So what do? We came up with a water ATM. So this is a system that helps communities and water entrepreneurs. And what value proposition are we bringing to these water entrepreneurs and the communities so that they can have 24/7 access to water? Our system is very cost effective. Second approach when you do this, we have IoT systems that tracks real-time data. We also track demographics of the people who are using this water. And we support over 90 ATMs installed. And this one is in 5 countries: Kenya, Uganda, Somalia, Ethiopia, and Malawi. We have 2 million plus liters dispensed, $30K in revenue collected from the system. But then the sales revenue, we are talking of $150,000. And also jobs created as well. Main focus is Kenya and probably Uganda. Those are our main focus, but then we have these other markets that are opening up: Somalia, Ethiopia, Malawi, and can expand to Eastern Africa. We are also looking at serving more than 100,000 people in the next 6 months, and livestock as well, because this solution is also adopted to the community 100 plus entrepreneurs. So what is our revenue generation model? So currently, the one we have at the funding, so this is our first time. But then from this model that we are proposing, we want to, basically the entrepreneurs, they are not buying. We're actually leasing the ATM. There's monthly revenue sharing. There's also to us and asking us if we can run the operations. So how do we plan to scale? So basically, for us, we make the units locally. We're very simple in terms of design and fabrication, and remote monitoring capabilities, including water quality and this data. We are able to get all that and diverse for different environments. So we want on board more entrepreneurs, expand to 15 plus countries, and actually this will be dedicated to mass production of these systems and also optimizing for mass installations. So we have a multidisciplinary team with over 100 deployments and proven capacity for scaling. So thank you so much, and we welcome you to partner with us. Asante.
Thanks for the pitch. Maybe a question on the cost and the margin on the ATMs. How much does it cost you? You said it's cost effective. And how much does it, 50 for registration and the...
Thank you for that. So since we are the manufacturers, we have been able, so when we began, our manufacturing cost was about $500. Right now, we've brought our manufacturing cost down to about $120. So our selling cost at the beginning was $2,500 per ATM. Right now, we are at $1,700. And the goal is now to, when we go for mass production, because we are now, the product was a slow-moving product. So as we go for $1,700.
One is around customer adoption, because you're asking the entrepreneurs to pay a fee that they hadn't been paying before. So how has that been like? And are you seeing greater adoption in some of the counties compared to others?
Yes, so ATMs are imported, and they don't consider our culture in Africa. The way, technology and culture have to intermarry, all these things, they don't consider. So that is our one of the other competitive advantages. In terms of market segment, we are looking to do mass production because it will still bring down the cost down, and it will help us to operationalize the business, and the entry level in terms of how much. Thank you.
Next on, we have Meg Mkononi. So a round of applause for him as he makes his way to the stage. Karibu sana.
My name is Kevin, and I'll start by asking a question. How many of us know of mechanics? How many of us know of EV mechanics? So, in Eastern Africa, from 2020, we have seen an increase of EVs on our roads by around 5% of mechanics are on our roads to repair these EVs. And 80% of the current EV owners are complaining of lack of repair services on their EV. Continuing on this trend, EV adoption will decrease within the near future. So that's where Make Mkononi comes in. Make Mkononi is a two-facing. The side is where we are upskilling mechanics to become EV mechanics, and on the second part, that's where we've been getting a lot of traction, funny enough. So we have onboarded around 150 EV mechanics and received 500 EV calls. So our business model, firstly, is we take 5 to 10% of the service fees from each and every repair transaction. Secondly is mechanic training, and training them from ICE mechanics to EV mechanics. And third and fourth is where we're doing corporate partnerships, EVs into the market. The current landscape, as you can see, is the current EV startups are in-house, but as EVs increase, there will be a need to outsource them. And Mike Mkononi is on talks to be able now to do that for them. In Rwanda, the same thing has been happening, so we want to be there to cover the rest of Eastern Africa and possibly Southern Africa. Upskill mechanics to EV mechanics while still running lean. Wires, we to train and provide those services to the EV owners. First movers advantage. We've been certified by Citizen Guild, and right now we're able now to train them on our own. We'll be able to stand on our own 2 feet. So that is also an advantage. And lastly is strategic partnerships. We're EV financiers. And so lastly is, this is a core team. We have a second, Dennis Fadili, he's doing interactions from China and Japan to do the contract facilitation and partnership scaling. And lastly, we have Ramadan, who is able to do community outreach. And so our ask, as you can see, our team is lean. We want to expand our team. So we are doing 160K for 12% equity and open for debt financing, as we heard today, to be able to scale to 5,000 EV repair transactions, expand to 3 more partnerships, and deploy to 2 East African countries. One of them is Ethiopia. And lastly is partnerships with any of the, if you are here and you're doing EV manufacturing or you have connections with government relations, we'll have to have a talk with you. Yeah, thank you. Any questions will be welcome.
Onboarded,
Yeah.
and you've mentioned that you're also providing upskilling and certification. So is it a requirement for them to be certified before you onboard them?
No.
Okay. And out of have both gender representation, or what does that look like?
Gender representation has mainly been male, unfortunately, but we have been really on doing an outreach so that from the TVET training, if you are even like a lady who is doing training, technical, the course so that you're able to train you as an EV, as an electrical. But now we're tweaking so that even if you're an electrical engineer, you're still able to become upskilled. So that brings the inclusivity part of it, so it allows the gender side of it to be satisfied.
Thanks for the presentation.
Yeah.
So mine is just a quick follow-up. So with the training, are the trainers in-house, or is that something that you outsource?
We've been outsourcing, but as of recently, as of last month, we were able now to be certified to be able to do it on our own. So we have been doing capacity building, doing strategic partnerships with, doing it in-house so that we're able to, it becomes, because at the end of the goal, that's our key. And so far, being certified has enabled us to start building in-house.
So is the main growth you see coming from training and
So far, it has been training. The training side has really gotten a lot of traction in anticipation for the EV, because EV adoption has been a bit slow. But now, when you're having conversations with the EV manufacturers and starting to see their plans and EV financiers, so we're saying that will be the next wave. So like, as we're upskilling, we're now preparing for that next wave. None for you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Okay, pitch session. So thank you so much. A round of applause for judges too. They also did a good job. So we need a breather, right? So I want us to do a very small activity. We're going to sing a song together. Clap. So let's do it together. Concentration. So concentration, clap thrice. Concentration is the game. No repeats or hesitations. Okay? So we keep the rhythm. And then I'm going to ask, let's say, types of or examples of wild animals. And then you'll give an answer. No repeats. The rules are no repeats or hesitations. Okay? So I'll randomly pick from the crowd. Concentration is the game. No repeats or hesitations.
Kenya.
Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Zambia.
Zambia.
Uganda.
Uganda.
Gambia.
Gambia.
Congo.
Congo.
Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe.
Sao Tome. Yeah? Sao Tome and Principe.
Where? Is that in Africa? Is it? Is it a country in Africa? Yeah? Do I know that country? I'm going to do a research on that.
South Africa.
South Africa?
Lesotho.
Lesotho. Hey.
Burundi.
Burundi.
Angola.
Angola. Thank you so much. You can have your seats. We're going to have our next panel discussion. Main arena. For those of us who are still standing at the back, let's occupy the seats. For those of us who are outside, let's occupy the seats, especially at the front here. We're going to have our next panel discussion, and it will be around waste to wealth. That is scaling circular economy in Africa. And I'm going to call upon Melanie Mwangi from Enrich in Africa. She is going to be...
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. How many of us are nature lovers? How many of us are happy to be in this space today? Okay, wonderful. That's a very good number. I'd like you guys to help me introduce my... He previously worked as head of corporate finance at Tugende in Uganda, and in the course of his career has worked in VC, private... Thank you. Next up, we have Claire. Claire is the founder and CEO of Farm to Feed, a tech-enabled B2B platform in size within the last 2 years, building efficient supply chains that reduce waste and boost farmer incomes, recognized by initiatives like the Katia Women's Initiative, Global Call for Startups, and Food Tech 500. Please give her a round of applause. Christine is currently the program manager at Kenya Climate Innovation Center. She has executed strategic programs funded value creation with a climate and nature positive model and waste management sectors. And we're very happy today to be here with you guys to be speaking about a topic that is very close to our hearts, and that is circular economy. So we just saw some very amazing startup speech here today. And I'm very curious. Okay, that's a very small number. Okay, nobody practices recycling. If you're Kenyan, you definitely do recycling. You know, we wear mitumba clothes, so that's recycling. Please raise your hands if you do recycling. Okay, wonderful, thank you. So, we saw some very amazing startups today pitch, and I'm curious to know, Kristen, from your experience, to transform waste into a high valuable product, all their solutions.
Thank you, Melanie. I work for Kenya Climate Innovation Center. We are a Pan-African organization in 6 countries, and we address the climate change challenge at the intersection of innovation and entrepreneurship. So we support entrepreneurs who, and one, it's very difficult to just mention one, Melanie, so you'll allow me maybe to mention 3. So number 1 is... Just one, okay. All right, so there is green pencils. Green pencils, they use, I had that product here, simple, a green pencil, so it saves at least 1 tree. And at the bottom of the pencil, they have interconnected it to seedlings, so they have various types of seedlings like spinach, name them. So when the pencil is used, which is the last, Melanie, how many in this room would use briquettes made from human waste to cook? By a show of hands. Yeah, so that is another innovation that we support at Kenya Climate Innovation Center. They are called NAWASCO. They make briquettes from human waste. And that keeps me thinking, if we can use human waste to make briquettes, then utilizing and just calling them waste, yeah.
And any challenges that they faced when they're trying to scale their solutions?
Yes, definitely. So the waste management sector is over-regulated, especially in the context of Kenya. For a wastepreneur, on average, they will need like 5 to 12 licenses, depending with which waste value chain they are in. So that becomes very expensive. And the over-regulation looks like this. You need a transport license, and then you will need to get that from the county government, you'll need to get government authority. And then, for example, if you have a site where you're doing plastic recycling, you have organic waste, you have any other type of waste, you have to pay a license. The waste ecosystem is very capital intensive. For example, so without not able to add, value to waste, and to add into the complexity, especially when we have the...
As an entrepreneur yourself, could you tell us a little bit about Farm to Feed, and also any of the challenges that you faced along the way when you've been trying to scale your circular economy solution? And while at that, could you also describe your experience with sourcing raw materials? How hard is it to access it? And when it comes to affordability, how do you balance, accessing your products and also affordability, and making sure that your product is not cheaper but affordable to your markets?
Yeah. So to explain what Farm to Feed does out in Africa, it's extremely wasteful because of all the inefficiencies in the supply chain. So about 15 to 20% is wasted on farm level, and then it goes all the way through the supply chain, meaning there's an incredible loss of income. People putting capital in the ground are not able to spot. So Kenya alone loses 1.5 billion USD annually due to food loss. And then lastly, food insecurity. So Farm to Feed, at its core, aggregates the full harvest from farms, one that includes we buy, meaning that they get an income, one of our customers, at a lower products. So a broken carrot, if you peel it, it becomes a high-value product. As one example, or slash potatoes. If you peel your potatoes, then no one sees it was a slash potatoes. So those kind of solutions we're now introducing, and we're introducing more and more manufacturing. Not everyone will buy a broken carrot. So I think one of the lessons for us, which was really important, is we came with this important problem. They don't care so much about the broken carrot as I do. So I needed to make my service in a way that they will shop. So so that's one lesson that we've learned and challenge that we faced, and we made us pivot. Greenwashing sometimes is like, oh, your product has to be made from pure upcycled product. I think it's great if we can, integrate 20% or 50% or 60%. That's great. So raw materials is seasonal in agriculture. Yeah.
Do we have any circular economy startup in the audience? Yes. Can someone give him a mic? And you can also tell us what your startup does.
Hi. I'm happy to see Claire on the stage. She's actually, we've never met, but affordable refurbished ICT products.
We use your laptop.
Materials. I'd say locally, the standards are a bit low for us. So that, and also the culture locally. So we do something quite similar to Sikili, but now for the whole range of IT products. And you find that in Kenya, we also have the culture where we use our devices until they're no more. So that contributes to the difficulty of us sourcing for local products. We also have a challenge with most organizations.
So where do you get your products? Do you import?
We do a mix. So we have a mix of imports and locals, but at the moment, I think imports are quite high as compared to using devices for, say, like 1 or 2 years, then passing them down for refurbishing, and this can then be used by disadvantaged or marginalized people.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Their laptops are really good. I would recommend everyone buying their laptop.
Wow. Okay, you guys have heard that, right? Go and see him if you need a new laptop. So circular economy is growing in right now. A lot of manufacturing.
Can everyone hear me at the back? Cool. Okay. So I think in terms of models that have ever you recycle, right? Huge scale has been super effective. Looking at models that really work there, look at the adaptation.
What about you, Claire? Can you tell us a little bit about your experience working with manufacturers?
Different values, different goals, different problem they're solving. It seems like a very easy step process. Once you say, okay, we both collaborating with other companies, use their idle space, that we should not be making everything. There's a lot of manufacturing for those partnerships, but it doesn't mean it's...
In my early phases, how would you advise me to approach a manufacturer like Coca-Cola,
Those guys. Well, we're in food, so we look at manufacturers that do certain value chains that are very seasonal. So for example, we're talking to a manufacturer that can do avocado, and we know that that's in particular space. And there's...
Manufacturers, correct?
Yes, because they are looking to grow, and they're looking for more customers. That's really important. And they probably don't have year-round, because your customers are probably your operations and your demand.
Okay, thank you. Audience, but he was telling me how important it is to have, in Africa, we've seen that we have the Africa Circular Economy Alliance that was started off a few years ago with Rwanda, Nigeria, and South Africa. And I'm curious, Christine, could you tell us a little bit about, and what are some of the incentives it offers? What are some of the gaps it offers? What are some of the opportunities that are there? And have we started implementing?
Sustainable Waste Management Act of Kenya, we have seen the entrepreneurs that we are currently supporting tapping into some of the opportunities that are starting from segregation bins. Some are doing consultancies along, educating the public on the different change behavior, cycling, composting, and some of these models are what the Sustainable Waste Management Act is really emphasizing because of the component of what is the role of, especially the county government in all these. One of the aspects is all the county governments are expected in Kenya of one of the counties in Kisumu. And what they did is they floated a tender open to the public, to wastepreneurs, and asking them to recovery facility. And one of the entrepreneurs we actually support at Kenya Climate Innovation Center was able to get that opportunity because they were fully compliant and they are currently running the material recovery facility. So what I'm trying to say in a nutshell, the entrepreneurs are already tapping into those opportunities already. Looking at the gaps, I will talk about compliance promotion. So the Act really emphasizes on all the wastepreneurs. They need to be heavily compliant. The biggest bottleneck is the environmental officers at the county level. They don't have the technical know-how in terms of the recommendation is they need to be trained to close this gap so that then when an entrepreneur approaches an environmental officer, they are able to answer all the questions pertaining compliance. Now that it's a very big thing, is now the Sustainable Waste Management Act. The framework is already there nationally, but we need to go a step further to now domesticate this policy at the counties, and I think that was not thought through because most of the counties are trying to domesticate these policies, but very few have already done that, so it might take a lot more time.
You say that very soon we're going to start doing color-coded bins. Is that correct? Do you think that is something that Kenyans...
The awareness campaigns have already started, actually. I think every nation at source, and that needs color-coded bins. However, we need to do more than that. The missing link is public then needs to buy these bins, but there is no clear incentive. The whole
it might work.
Easier,
it might work. Okay, let's go to a very interesting topic, and that is money. You know, everybody. Your perspective as a VC, do you think that circular economy solutions face a perception barrier when it comes to investments? I'm pretty sure you've had a lot, or also, can you mention?
I actually, a lot of my career I've been in VC and private equity. There is a difference between what makes a good business and what makes a good VC investment. Just because it's not a good VC investment does not mean it's not a good business. Businesses that are nevertheless not a great fit for a VC fund. That said, I think often the issue is that many of the businesses that we're talking about, and that is really, really difficult to do at scale. Like, that's incredibly difficult. And so sometimes that is that's going to be what ends up being the issue, right? It doesn't stop it from being a good business, but it might mean that it's not a great fit for a VC. So in terms of de-risking, I think the first thing is to match the investor. Might start feeling disheartened about that, and it might not be clear that actually the issue is more like their incapacity to invest in you, rather than the actual potential. In terms of de-risking, I look at that in the model. I think there's a few things here. So, one example is to take things that, right? There's a huge amount of second-hand clothing sales. That's circular economy. I already mentioned glass bottles. In terms of reuse, recycling, repurposing, all those things are already there, and that makes it very attractive to more commercial investors. I think another part of it as well is that many of the models that we've talked about, you basically consuming it and then disposing of it. You use it, process it, reuse it, process it, reuse it, process it, reuse it. And because if you can sell the same item 5 times, you can have those kinds of models. A lot of that is reused. They're designed to be thrown away so that you have to buy another one. But those kinds of models are just by their nature de-risked, and I think are more attractive.
I feel like that was a very short session. But before we go, how many of us litter? If you litter, please raise your hands. Of course, no one's going to raise their hand, right? And I'm curious to know to a time when the culture of littering in Africa, of course, it's not all African cities, but in those African cities that have a lot of litter, do you think I bought some soda, right? Can I, keep it aside until I take it to an agent? Because I'm seeing such solutions. Nairobi, and we can start with Christine.
Yeah, sure. So for me, it's usually deeply connected to culture, to behavior, to policy, to economics. So if we get it right, and in closing, I would say we don't, it's all. It's up to us to Africa, for Nigeria, and then design solutions in that context.
Thank you.
Completely, yes. But I think thinking about cleaning up a city and thinking about recycling also comes with economic development. I think there's a lot of people who have healthcare. There's a single mother, so I think many startups and VCCs are, I think it comes together with economic development. So in the next 10 years, I think there's going to be a shift.
Thank you. Daniel?
Sure, thanks. So I think that if you went back 100 years, probably it's almost, if you make it easy, one of the few places, this not just Nairobi, but the region is one of the few places in the world where it is actually profitable to recycle plastic bottles, right? And now you have an incentive for them to do that, and also it keeps the streets clean at the same time, over cultural attitudes or anything like that.
Okay. I think those were very positive answers. Thank you very much. A round of applause, because you've been a very good audience. Thank you.
Also, as we wait for the startups, let's just have a quick appreciation of our sponsors. Startups are also part of our key sponsors of the event. Let's all GIZ Size is also in the house. A round of applause for them. We also have Kawi Safi in the house. A round of applause for them. And last but not least, Methes is also in the house. So moving on to the next. Right. So yeah, we have our pitch jury, and I'm going to be equity. So make your way to the front seat. A round of Cynthia Mwaura, Investment Associate E3 Capital. Kindly come to the front seat. Cynthia Mwaura. A round of applause for her. Africa. A round of applause for her. Not forgetting Andrew Burden, Chief Executive Officer at the Kenya Wall Street, Lafin Han, the CEO of Venture for Africa. So, are we okay? Okay. Can we all rise for 2 minutes? And please don't give me countries that I... Concentration. Did we forget? The game, no repeats or hesitations. Domestic animals.
Cat.
Cat.
Dog.
Dog.
Kitten.
Kitten. Is kitten cat? No, is it a cat? Sorry. We can have our seats. But a kitten is a cat. Okay. So we have 5 minutes for the pitch and 2 minutes questions from the judges.
Hi everyone, I'm Gatweri Njogu, CEO and co-founder of VunaPay, where we are building the fintech infrastructure that's powering resilience for smallholder farmers. 70% of Africans are smallholder farmers, and however, there's what I call the toothache in smallholder farming. That is delayed payment. When these farmers take their produce to the cooperative, they usually have to wait for 6 or even up to 12 months to get paid. They end up to middlemen just for that instant payment. So leveraging our experience, my co-founder Koya was an investment bank. Derek has been building fintech apps for 7 years plus. We came up with what we call the VunaPay approach at scale. Because with 54,000 agricultural cooperatives across sub-Saharan Africa, we are able to reach 80 million smallholder households in Africa. So what do we do? At VunaPay, we are solving that toothache. We provide a management system and a last mile payment link to the farmer. That way, we are solving the toothache, but we are also laying fintech rails for the future. So how this works, when the smallholder takes their produce to the cooperative, they will find a cooperative clerk using our proprietary cooperative management solution to receive that. Financier who pays the farmer instantly. At the end of the season, and the repayment to the financier, while we make a cut. So far, we have onboarded